I hate to admit it, but the first thing I thought about when I saw the square piece of paper was a Wendy's burger. If you're not aware, Wendy's burger patties are in fact square, which is different from basically every other burger, fast food or not. Now, if you Google why exactly Wendy's burger patties are square, you'll get two reasons. The first is more obvious, that they want their patties to stick out so you can see the quality of the meat. The second reason, however, is what I wanted to focus on. Wendy's states that their patties are square because they refuse to cut corners. And that got me thinking, why do people cut corners? What exactly is the idea of cutting corners, and why has it become the norm for many activities, besides just making burger patties? Another Google search gives you a blunt definition of what cutting corners is: to undertake something in what appears to be the easiest, quickest, or cheapest way. When you hear this, it definitely doesn't sound good, right? Yet everyone cuts corners so often that we don't even realize when we do.
It starts young, just in middle school gym class when you're told to run laps. Most people just usually cut the corners out of habit. Actually, the people who don't cut the corners are the ones who stand out, because most people just don't run laps properly. Now, while that situation is quite literal, corners are cut in many different situations. Maybe it's just looking off someone's paper when you're taking an exam.
While both of these can be considered simple acts of cutting corners, things that everyday people do, well, every day, people of all statuses and situations cut corners, and only a few get caught. So what am I getting at with all of this? Well, why do people cut corners? Why don't people naturally hold themselves to the highest standard rather than the lowest? Are we as humans just inherently evil? Or, in nicer terms, inherently lazy? No. Well, at least I don't think so. I don't think we're structured to be lazy and look for the easiest way out. However, I think fear incites this behavior. After considering a multitude of situations where people tend to cut corners, I came up with 3 reasons I think fear pushes us to cut corners. Number 1. People are scared to be different. We fear being alone in our ways and being the odd one out. Number 2. People are scared they're not good enough. Often we're so critical of ourselves that we start to cut corners just to be like everyone else. And finally, number 3, people are scared of being wrong. The fear of not always having the correct answer encourages people to go along with the mob and cut corners so they'll have the same answer as everyone else. As I conducted my investigation and came up with these reasons as to why people cut corners as much as they do, I wondered how different the world would be if corners weren't always cut. What if people ran laps without cutting the corners, and those who did cut corners were the ones to stand out? What if people took tests with their own knowledge rather than depending on others? I can't even imagine the higher levels we would achieve as a whole if we all decided to cut out cutting corners. If everyone began to believe that it's okay to be different, and it's okay to not be the master of something, and it's okay to be wrong, we'd achieve our goals with much more passion and integrity. What if instead of running from the idea of standing out and using shortcuts to hide our individuality, we embrace this idea of not cutting corners, and instead showing the qualities that we all have to offer? And even if it's only the shape of a patty, I definitely think Wendy's is onto something.